Hello and welcome to Bible Study with Alice, and today we're on day 85, Psalm 85 of our daily psalm reading. We're reading from the ESV translation, but you're more than welcome to join us from a different translation. As you can see, we are on Psalm 85. These videos are filmed in real time. Today's date is the 27th of January 25, and it's a Monday. You can find the previous 84 Psalms in the playlist below. There is a disclaimer as usual, and that is one, these videos are unedited and also I'll probably stumble my wording, which usually happens. Let's get started. Receive us again to the choir master, Psalm of the sons of Korah. Lord, you are favourable to your land. You restored the fortunes of Jacob. You forgave the iniquity of your people. You covered all their sins, Selah. You withdrew all the wrath. You turned from your hot anger. You restored us again, O God of your salvation, and put away your indignation towards us. Will you be angry with us forever? Will you prolong your anger to all generations? You will not receive us again, that your people may rejoice in you. Show us your steadfast love, O Lord, and grant us your salvation. Let's hear what God, the Lord, will speak. For he will speak peace to the people, to his saints. Let them not turn back to folly. Surely his salvation is near to those who fear him, that glory may dwell in your land. Steadfast love and faithfulness meet righteousness and peace that kiss each other. Faithfulness springs up from the ground, and the righteousness looks down from the sky. Yes, the Lord will give what is good, and our land will yield its increase. Righteousness will go before him and make his footsteps a way. So, that is Psalm 85 complete. So that's the first part of the video. And then the next part, for those who are new, I will explain. For those who are returning, you'll know what I'm going to be doing. So I will now talk about the psalm and the time period that the psalm was written in. And before I get into that, I'll briefly go over the time period now. So there are three sections to it. Two that link up, one that don't. So the one that don't link up are those that have a time period linked to it. And that is because scholars and historians have understood or discovered when that particular psalm was written. Now, when they say century, like the 8th century, that's over a vast period of time, because that's like 100 years. Well, a century is 100 years, but it's over a 100-year period, so it could be during the 8th century, but that's during a 100-year period. So that's what I mean. It's very hard for historians and scholars to decide exactly when and pinpoint when that psalm was written. So that's why sometimes you will find it will say a century, and a century is obviously 100 years, which is quite a vast period of time to even try to understand when that psalm is written. But they put it like that because it's one, it's a time period, and two, it's more than likely to have happened within that 100-year period, but they just don't know exactly when in that 100-year period it happened. Where there are psalms where it could be like 1015 BC, for example, they know it happened then, but when in that period, they don't know. They just know it was written in 1015 BC. When exactly, nobody knows, and nobody probably will ever know. The only person who knows, obviously, is God himself, but that's, at this moment in time, neither here or there. So when it says a century, like 8th, 5th, whatever, century, that's over a 100-year period. Sometimes it could be something like from the 8th to the 5th BC, from the 8th to the 5th century BC. So 8th, 7th, that's over 400 years. Had to count that to had to count that. So for like a 400-year period that psalm would have been written in. That's what I mean. It's very difficult to decide when that particular psalm was written in. But they have a time period which is kind of relevant because it helps those who are like myself get an idea of when that psalm is written. Now, there's the other part where it's unknown, and that's due to the fact that they don't know when it was written. They know it was written, but they don't know when it was written. So when I said it's in two parts of the unknown, that is the first part. They have it as unknown, historians and scholars that is, and they will also know, the only bit they will know about that psalm is the event that is linked to it. So there will be an event that's linked to that particular psalm, and they will then obviously be like, well, that psalm was written during that particular time period event. I say time period, but event. It happened during an event, but with the time period, they don't know when that event happened because it could have happened during a war, or could happen be during an exile, could have happened during a reign of a king, for example, King David. A psalm could have been written during his reign, but they don't know exactly when in his reign it would have happened. They just know it had happened during his reign. They just don't know when during his reign it was. The other part is, as I say, it's not very often this happens. There are a few that psalms it does happen to, and that is when they don't know the time period of that psalm and they don't have an event linked to it. So then it becomes very difficult to decipher when that particular psalm was then written because they don't have a time period and they don't have an event to work with. So I just wanted to get that out there before I can. Well, while I can. So, Psalm 85 was written in 520 BC, and it was shortly after the Jewish had returned from exile in Babylon. So that is obviously quite helpful to know that this psalm, I'll just move it up a bit, had been written in 520 BC, and it was shortly after the Jewish people had returned from exile in Babylon. So what we can now, obviously the calendar is also very different in our time period now to their time period then. So that is obviously going to also make it very difficult to understand the time periods. But that is what or when the psalm was written. It's a prayer for God to restore his people, and it's often interpreted as a communal prayer for help. Now, we will talk about communal prayer in a second. Well, not a second, probably a minute. And the key theme during 85 is restoration, forgiveness, peace, righteousness, and mercy. So, there's a few things I want to talk about. It's very let's do it all in one go. So we're going to do the communal, talk about the communal prayer. Now, there are different types of, if you hear a cat, that was my cat jumping out the window. So there's different types of lament. So you got a community lament, which is a communal prayer, and you got obviously individual lament. And obviously we have discussed individual lament in previous videos that obviously are relevant to individual lament. So with Psalm 85, as I said, it's a community lament, which is a communal prayer, and it expresses sorrow for a nation suffering and asks for God's help. Deep sorrow for a nation suffering, asks for God's blessing intervention. Addressed to God, description of complaint, request for God's help, expression of trust in God. And then obviously these here are the communal lament. And obviously, as we can see, Psalm 85 is here. The community lament is usually, trying to move my Bible, is usually done where the community will ask one person and they will read the psalm or lament on behalf of them, the community. So it would be like doing the prayer on behalf of them, that on behalf of the community. So how we kind of do a community lament is obviously it's the same as an individual lament. So obviously you address God, so you invite God in. You then give the description of the complaint, lament, request for God's help, and an expression of trust in God. So the way I describe a community lament, and that is where, say for example, at church you got the bishop, the sermon leader, church leader, the person in charge, who or they might invite somebody up to do the communal prayer. So they might have, I've already asked somebody in the congregation to stand up and do this communal prayer on behalf of the members of the church, and or communities, or a member of the community, because you could have it in the community as well. It doesn't have to be a church setting. And then you obviously address God, so you invite God in. Then you obviously do the description of the complaint. So if you're got or complaint/lament, which is obviously then going to be the problem that's happened. So it could be war happening in, let's just use modern times, Ukraine, or the war that's been going on in Israel and their issue with Hamas. And then you've obviously got other war going on in like all over the world. Or you could have an illness of somebody, and it could just be like a not private thing but a community based thing. So you could have like an illness within the area you live in. For example, during COVID, people would do a community lament on COVID, because obviously that is a vast amount of people getting ill with COVID, and they obviously wanted God's help during that, because at that moment in time, it was the first time we've had anything like that in years. So people wasn't used to having such a vast problem like that, especially a health related problem. I mean, we get some random bugs and stuff going about and illnesses going around, but where the whole world was pretty much affected by COVID, communities are then wanting to pray to God to help overcome that illness, because COVID is technically an illness. We have our vaccines now. Now, I'm not going on about if you should be for vaccine or against vaccine, because this is not what the channel's about. So I'm not actually saying that you shouldn't have had your vaccine or you should have your vaccine. That's neither here or there. It's kind of actually irrelevant. But obviously now we do have those vaccines in place, so we can get vaccinated from COVID. But obviously back when COVID had occurred, we didn't have that. So we needed something. We needed to pray to God to get help with that, the communities were losing members in their church, members in their local community where they live, and they just wanted to pray and wanted to get God's help. So obviously that would be then the description of the complaint. And then you request for God's help. So you want God to help you. And my cat, oh, bless her. My cat, she always does this. When she realises I'm filming, she wants to join in. Bless her. Oh, so, there you go there, Pub. That's what. Hold on. There you go. Right. She wanted a cuddle. Bless her. So, yeah, you might see a picture of my cat on the community post. But yeah, she always, when she realises I'm filming, especially first thing in the morning, because for her, she's like, oh, Mum's filming. That means she's then going to get herself ready to go off and out and do whatever she needs to do for the day and come back later in the afternoon. So she gets a bit sad, which, to be fair, I don't really blame her. But yeah, so with the community lament, people obviously would want to request help from God to get his help in that problem or illness, whichever the lament was about. And then you have trust in God that God will help you then, and he will help you to overcome that complaint. Obviously with COVID, I wouldn't say it cured it. My cat has now run off, bless her. But we do have the vaccinations in place. And yeah, we have lost people due to COVID, which isn't helpful at all, naturally. But, and obviously, this description is not obviously good to use for COVID, but you can think of any issue that's going on in the world. I mean, in the United Kingdom at the moment, we've got bird flu happening, and in the area of the country that I live in, then about 2-3 towns away from where I live, on a farm, the bird flu was detected. So obviously people, have been told by the council that I live within. I'm not saying we like councils, but the council of the area, the council of the county that I live in, even, has said to people who's got birds and domesticated birds to keep their birds indoors because of this illness that's going around. So, people who are big on birds will want to keep birds safe, naturally. So people will obviously want to do a community lament on that, for example. There's plenty of examples we could use, and it all follows the same way. Now, it could also be a family within a community could be having a lot of problems. They could have had something dramatic happen in their life. For example, an example I can give, I won't say too much of where it happened and all what, because obviously then that's giving away my location, and I will say I live in the United Kingdom. I don't really want to give away my exact location, but the main town that I work in, I don't live in this town, I live outside of the town. I live in about 10-15 miles away from this town, but I still go to work in this main town. And they have, there's a village just outside of that town, which is like 3 miles outside of that town, that had such a horrible experience just after Christmas, or just before Christmas. Oh, I think it was just before Christmas, it would have been, where a lorry had drove into a pub and a house, and the house happened to be connected to the family who lived in the house business. So the business, their house got destroyed. Then the pub next door got destroyed as well. And the community rallied together to help the family out. You know, wanted to give clothing to the family, wanted to donate money, wanted to do so much for this family. And thankfully, I say thankfully, the family has been so blessed with all that been happening. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that they will get the house back to the way they had it, but they can at least have comfort that their business is, they can actually get their business opened up again. It means there's going to be an extensive amount of work done to their home. So it does mean at the moment they are going to be living temporarily in, you know, temporary accommodation until their property is livable again, which hopefully wouldn't be too long. But obviously, the United Kingdom, we do have stricter rules and regulations on properties, and we are very strict when it comes to that sort of regulations. So it's not going to be anytime soon, but at least they can start to earn a bit of an income again, and looking at the community that they live in, the village that they live in, where the business is based, are going to want to continue to use them, which is very, very good and very, very reassuring for that family. So that is obviously a community lament. So we will now go back to 85. So Salau is only mentioned once, and it's mentioned pretty much at the start. It's mentioned in verse 2. You forgave the iniquity of your people, you covered all their sin, Salam. So Salam basically means a pause, a reflection, and a rest. So with the rest and the pause, now with Psalms, they were written to be sung. Now, I'm not going to sing these Psalms just because that's not me. I'm not a singer. I can sing in a choir, but I won't be singing solo. And so when these words came up, Salam, they came up for the purpose of a rest or a pause. But then also it came up as a reflection. Now, I'm on the belief, now everybody's different, so it's fine. Nobody's right or wrong here. But I'm on the belief that Salau in 85, same with all the other Psalms, to be honest, the meaning I have for it, is a reflection of verse that it comes with. So, as it's at the end of verse 2, it means that it's a reflection of verse 2. You forgave the iniquity of your people, you covered all their sin. Salam. So that's a reflection of that particular verse. So you're reflecting on that you forgave the iniquity of your people, you covered all their sin. So it's basically implying that God had forgave the iniquity of his people, and they had covered all their sins, so their sins kind of been washed away, so to say. And that is basically what the reflection means for 85. So, as I said, I'm always having problems with my tripod. It's not exactly the best tripod in the world, but it's a tripod nevertheless, so we can live with it for that particular purpose. So, that is Psalm 85 complete. I will now write in the day and the date. So it's day 85. I am left-handed and I am looking over the camera. I'm on the 27th, which is a Monday, of January 25. So we are now in the final week of January 25. So, yeah, we'll be going now. Slowly but surely, we've got quite a few Psalms to go. There's 150 Psalms in the book of Psalms, and we're on 85. So we are getting there. very, very slowly, and we are actually halfway, so that's good. We are past the halfway mark. So, thank you for watching my videos. Please like my content. I would really appreciate it if you could, but I'm not forcing you to. Please subscribe to my channel. Also, I'd really like it if you could subscribe. I don't like asking, but it is nice to have a few more lovely people joining the family. I consider my Bible study as a family. So yeah, you can join my family if you want. And please turn on the notification bell so you get notified of when content like this gets uploaded to the channel. And yeah, so thank you and goodbye.